Jason! Jason! Jason!
Every season, I try to showcase my love somehow for the Friday the 13th franchise. And the Love Fest is going to continue with this list of my top 5 favorite Jasons. And this doesn't necessarily have to be movie Jasons, because there's been a variety of different Jasons, so we're going to see all sorts of different ones on this list this evening. So let's start with number 5. Number 5 is the Savini Jason from Friday the 13th, the game. So this Jason was a skin that you could get as a Kickstarter pre-order bonus for the game, and it was designed by the great Tom Savini, the makeup and special effects artist who worked on the first film and the fourth film. So it's a cool looking skin. It's kind of like a Jason out of hell, like he's a fiery looking fresh out of hell Jason, and it's very cool. It's extremely badass. I mean, I would be terrified if this Jason was coming around a corner and chasing me for sure, although really any Jason is a pretty scary Jason. The game itself, it had a great run. It ran into some issues and it eventually just kind of died, but the creators of the game, you could tell they really had a love for the franchise, and they had a lot of eye for details on the maps, and it was a lot of fun while it lasted. And so shout out to number 5, Tom Savini's Jason. Number 4. So this is the sack on the head Jason, and it's a great look. I mean, it's a very unique look, never done again. Of course, he would go on to just get the mask and stick with that. And the sack is kind of like, it's the pre-evolution, I guess, the precursor to a more streamlined, he knows what he's doing now, Jason. And I think that why I made it part of my list was because it's funny. It's just a funny Jason. That's why he has to be made part of this list. Number 4, part 2, Jason. Number 3 on the list is so not a great movie, but this is a Jason that has definitely been through a lot of shit. And I love that, they really carried on some of the continuity. They tried to kind of keep things going. Everyone sort of had their own spin on like what he should sort of look like underneath, and I think some of the mask stuff didn't always carry through, but this is just a really cool, battered, torn Jason. He's been resurrected already at this point with via the hole in the chest and the lightning bolt because of Tommy Jarvis. And what else has he done? I mean, he fought Tina already at this point, and it was at the bottom of a lake. So it's cool to see this Jason for sure. And the movie itself, Manhattan, we've talked about this many times. Should have been called something else. He wasn't in Manhattan very long, and there's some great kills in it though. That's the problem. It's pretty solid as far as like Jason kills and sort of standard formula goes, like when they're on the ship. And Kane Hodder gives it his all. So it is fun to kind of watch it when you do Jason marathons, or just, when it's on. But Jason Part 8, Glad you made the list, buddy. Number 2 is 8-Bit Jason. So, of course, 8-Bit Jason is the purple and blue Jason from the Friday the 13th Nintendo game. And I don't know why they decided to go with that as the colors. He really never had those. He never wore anything like that, but it's very iconic now. It's kind of reached like internet meme status. They've made an action figure. I have it. It's actually right here. But yeah, so it's got the game over screen. It's got 8-Bit Jason in all his glory with the 8-bit background of the cabin, which is so hard to navigate. I mean, if you've ever played that game, you know what I mean. It's kind of like you get lost many times if you don't know what you're doing. But if you want to see more about that, you can check out my gaming gauntlet that I did of Friday the 13th for Nintendo. But really, this is about 8-Bit Jason and my favorite Jasons. And 8-Bit Jason is just cool as hell, and I'm so glad I got to talk about him. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, my number 1 favorite Jason. It's a great Jason. It is a Jason that I conjure up in my head whenever anybody mentions to me Jason. If they say, hey, do you like Jason? Do you like Friday the 13th? I look in my brain and boom, right there is that Jason with his fresh mask from Friday the 13th Part 3. It's cool. He's like kind of like a more streamlined Jason. There are some slapsticky things that happen in Part 3. But to me, I think the whole film is really solid all the way through. There's great characters like Shelly. There's a lot of great moments, a lot of great kills, and of course, the mask for the very first time. So, Friday the 13th, Part 3, Jason. Glad to know ya. Congratulations for being my number 1 favorite Jason. But really, all 5 of you are great Jasons.